Hey y'all, it's your boy Butter here, and welcome to Real Life with Butter! Are you ready? Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your boy Butter here. Welcome to Real Life with Butter, and we have a real life professional golfer with us today. Her name is Kim Williams.
Thanks for having me. I'm
How
excited
are you?
to be here. I'm great. How about you?
Did you come straight from the golf course?
I was teaching this morning out at West Haven.
What were you teaching today?
Teaching golf.
But like putting, hitting, chipping?
Our putting green is closed right now. I had a full swing lesson with a lady who lives out there, I think. We teach members and non-members, so I think she might live in the community. Yeah.
This is so exciting to me because I am so passionate about golf, and
funny.
I can't wait to ask you so many questions.
Oh, goodness.
But one of the things I wanted to mention right away is how I met Kim for the first time. I was on a practice putting green over at the little course at Legends, and it was a little later at night. I was out there just putting, and behind me, I hear this swing, and it caught my ear. I was like, you don't hear that normally. And so I turned around and I see that it's Kim standing. I didn't know her name was Kim at the time, but I see that you're standing there and I see a ball about 5 feet from the pin. So I'm like, I have to watch her swing. And then I watched you swing again, another ball 5 feet from the pin. And I was like, I have to say hello to you. And that's kind of how we met.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember you saying, oh, that's what it's supposed to sound like.
That's what I hear on TV was what you were doing.
Thank you. Well, sometimes.
So, I've read and since meeting you, I've read so many things about you. But how did golf begin for you? And just from an early age, but I mean to take it to become an actual professional golfer. How were the beginnings for you with golf?
My dad played, and one of my brothers played, and my dad would always encourage me to play, which, looking back now, how amazing is that? Because, back then when I was a kid, wasn't necessarily encouraged for girls to play sports. And, a lot of guys go to the golf course to get away from their kids and their wife, So when I was about 16, my dad was like, look, I want you to do this. I think you can do this. I kind of had vaguely dabbled in it.
Were you already showing a swing and something towards it?
Well, I played other sports, and I think I played everything. I was a very good basketball player and track and field athlete, and I think he saw that I was really passionate about sports, and he realized that was probably the one sport that I could make a living at and play my whole life. And even if you don't, it definitely will change who you're around in your life, and it changes your life. And it's just there's just so many lovely factors about golf. You're outside, you're with nature. It's such a sport of respect where people respect the game and each other, and you just learn so much about life in golf, really.
And so at that time, did you develop a swing that was happening at that point at 16, or was that something that happened? Because when you think about professional, there's so many different golf swings out there.
Yeah.
But did you see something starting at that point in your life? Obviously, you said you played other sports, but you got to be able to hit that ball consistently. Were you developing a swing that early?
Yeah, I was really fortunate in that I was pretty good pretty quickly. And I had good instruction. My dad made sure I had good instruction.
Is this Dave King and Bill at this time?
Yeah, Mr. Strasbaugh, and Dave King. I had a couple of great mentors. So I started really playing seriously at 16. I played in the U.S. Open at 18, so obviously it happened pretty quickly for me. Yeah.
And just because, just as a fan of the game and not knowing enough, how do you qualify for the U.S. Open at 18? What was the process that you had to go through to make that happen?
Yeah, it's still the same, actually. Well, you have to establish a low handicap. I think it's 2 or below. And then you go through qualifying. Back then it was 18 holes, and it was hilarious. I went in Pittsburgh because it was the closest place to where I grew up in Maryland. It just so happened the LPGA Tour was playing near there. So it was all the tour players who weren't exempt. And, here I am, and then another friend of mine who's my age that I played amateur golf with, and we both qualified. And then years later, when we were on tour, and she's like, that wasn't like, we thought that was the coolest thing. She's like, now that I realize I'm older, those other tour players did probably not think it was the coolest thing that two 18-year-olds beat them. So
What did you shoot?
Oh, I don't even remember. Generally you have to shoot around even par. So I'm sure I was around there.
So we qualified for the U.S. Open
Yeah.
at 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I was reading a lot about your amateur career, and then you've played on the LPGA Tour for a number of years.
Right.
Just in a general sense, what was that like being out on the professional tour and that lifestyle? I come from a music background where, it was backstage parties and, this sort of thing about, music and the party life. Was it business always out on the PGA for you at the time, or was there fun? Like, how was the life on the LPGA Tour?
Well, it's definitely a circus.
Yeah.
Anytime you're going from city to city and you don't go home for, sometimes months at a time, I was always very serious.
I can see that. I can tell.
It just wasn't my thing. I didn't drink, I didn't party. There certainly were a few people that did. They didn't usually last very long, I can tell you that.
Golf doesn't seem, even today as I'm more familiar with it, it doesn't seem this. Golf, you have to be your best early in the mornings.
Yes. Think about it. I mean, you're, day after day, and then you're getting on an airplane every week, twice a week. If you're out drinking, there's no way you're going to be out in that heat. And, you're out there all day. You're having 8, 10, 12-hour days. There's no way. And that's why the people you see that didn't look at it like a business thing, they usually didn't last very long.
And was that process fun for you? You say you're a little serious, but I think somebody that really excels in golf must love the process, must love practicing.
Absolutely.
I met you. You're out there practicing. I was out there practicing.
Yeah.
You
You're always out there practicing.
I am. I'm a perpetual practicer. I never play. I never have time to go play, but I hit golf. My nickname is Buckets because all I do is hit buckets of balls. That's my life in golf.
I always see you putting, which is at least you're working on the right thing, right?
Well, you see me. Well, I saw you giving a lesson over there the other day.
Yeah.
It was really cool, and I've seen you out there, and I really do love golf. I think it's a sport that you listen to professional golfers still say, I'm working on it, or I'm close. It's like
always.
You've been doing this since you were 8. And now you're 30 years old on the professional tour, and you're close. Like, what?
Golf. It's elusive. It's just when you think, oh, I can breathe for a second. I mean, look at McIlroy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was so free and easy when he was young, and then. Oh my God, I might be one of the best players in the world, and you see him.
Wins early.
He's just a little bit tight almost, and then it's so elusive to try and get a hold of that just relaxed nature. So, and if you get injured, I mean, golf is fickle.
And
really
I remember
is.
Jack, when he was talking about Tiger, said, because for Tiger's climb early on, you see this with a lot of the young golfers today. And I'm a little bit more familiar with the male golfing, with the guys, but with Spieth and some of these guys that they win and then they get involved in it. And I remember Jack saying, Tiger will maybe catch my
record.
His record for majors, but he's going to have to go through fatherhood, and he's going to have to go through life a little bit, and when you're out there on the course, the dedication mentally that has to come with that, there's no one running at you. There's no reason to hurry, but you've got to stand there and make a swing, and it's a very mental game. I feel like it's people that can stay in that spot. You would know better than me, but
I have a friend that played with me, and she has 3 daughters, and they're all national surf champions, right? And the 2 older ones are really close in age, and so they've always kind of been almost like twins. Every one of them have won. They've won the Australian shortboard, and then her youngest daughter won the U.S. national stand-up shortboard paddle championship at 10. She beat a bunch of 18-year-olds. And she said, that'll be my one daughter that'll make it if she plays golf, because she was always kind of the third wheel. And she's like, she can be by herself all day.
That's great.
She's like, she's the one. And she actually she stopped surfing and now she's one of the best junior players in the country. Because, like Patty said, her name's Scarlett, and she was like, Scarlett can stand there all day and hit balls all day by herself and be completely content. And that's you have to be able to do that because you got to grind it out of the ground.
I just love that. Just like you explained, I love that part of the game. And when I leave my wife and kids and I go over to the practice range, I have as much fun hitting golf balls as I do playing.
Yeah.
Now, I enjoy a great scramble with cold beers and being able to grip it and rip it and all that. But do you play in a lot of, like today, we were talking before we started, you're gearing up for an event. Like, where are you today as far as touring or playing and on the professional and
Right.
and sort of the celebrity level? Where are you with all of that?
Well, one, I'm not a celebrity.
Yes, you are.
If I ever was, I might say I may have been infamous for a short period of time.
You are one of the best golfers to ever, in the history of golf, when you think about what you've done, and I know it may not seem that to you, but when you take all of the people that have ever tried to do it, you've reached some of the highest levels,
I definitely have played at the highest level for a long time. My professional career did not match my amateur career. Injuries, things like that happen. I am playing kind of senior. There's not very many events for senior women. There's Senior U.S. Open, and we're only into our third. The men are like on their 43rd. So I've got that Senior LPGA Championship. I will play a handful of.
And
LPGA.
where is that taking place?
So the Senior U.S. Women's Open is in Connecticut, and the Senior LPGA Championship is in French Lick, Indiana.
French Lick? Larry Bird.
Yeah, exactly.
He might be there watching.
Yeah, I think I'd notice if he was.
You would notice
and I'll play a handful of LPGA events, but those are really just to help me stay competitive for the, you're not, like we saw Annika play earlier this year, you're not going to show up at the Senior Open not having played and win. You need to stay sharp. It's like if you went to have surgery and the doctor was like, hey, I haven't done this in a while. You'd be like, why don't you go practice and call me back when you've done
a few more surgeries and then come back to me.
Exactly. So it's very similar.
Can you win it?
Can I?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. If I putt well, I had a chance to win the Senior U.S. Open right before COVID, the year before, and I did not putt well, but I was still hanging in there. And then the last day, I didn't hit it well because you're not gonna putt poorly for 3 days and hit it great, and then all of a sudden. It's just really hard to sustain over 72 holes hitting it exceptionally well. You're going to have that day where you don't hit it great, but you get it up and down.
Sure.
And, it's just, it puts too much pressure on your putter. So
tell me, we're going to do this interview is going to last just under an hour, about an hour. I could talk to you for 7 straight days. I swear this is
hilarious.
So interesting to me. When you start out and you had a great amateur career and you mentioned your professional career, maybe you didn't hit some of the marks or you were only there for a certain amount of time. What were some of those favorite moments that you had along the way that you take away today? And I know you're still going for it, like you're going to play in this tournament, so it's not that it's all behind you, but like from that part of your life to where you are now, what were some of your favorite tournaments or moments that you could share with us?
Well, I mean, I love the majors. I grew up on a very difficult golf course, and so
and what was your home course?
Bethesda, Maryland, Bethesda Country Club. It fits my eye, it fits my game. I always hit it really long and very straight, and I was a very good iron player, so I love the small greens and the really tight
accuracy.
Yeah, really tight fairways, and if you miss the fairway, you're in trouble. Like we saw, you don't see that as much with the men anymore. They're more powerful, and just the game has changed where they can hack it out of the rough.
Well, a lot of times they're hitting a 9-iron or a wedge closer because they're just so far up.
So I love the U.S. Opens. I led after some round at some point, probably 5 or 6 of them. I have a tendency to lead after the first round. My dad was so funny. After I'd done that about 5 times, he says, the trick is to lead after the 4th round. I said, I'm trying. I love the U.S. Open. And I lost in a playoff at the first Sara Lee here I didn't live here
And
then.
that was the U.S. Open here in
No. It was Sara Lee Classic here.
Sara Lee here in Nashville.
So that's always a great memory. Yeah.
Was that at Hermitage?
It was. Yeah. It was 1988.
And did they have the presidential course at that time? Or
They did not.
So it was
no.
just the front, the Hermitage.
Just
Beautiful out there.
Yeah, it is.
And
Great
so
people.
you came into the last hole leading, or did somebody tie you on 18th to go into a playoff?
You know what? I missed about a 3-foot putt to win. I think I shot 67 the last day. I was not in the last group.
67 is great.
There was a few groups behind me. I had to wait. There was a number of us in the playoff. I think there was like 3 or 4 of us in the playoff. I did miss a really short putt on the last hole to win outright.
And when you missed that putt, did you misread it? Did you miss it? You got to imagine, I can imagine the nerves at that moment. When you miss something like that, when you look back on it, was it a read or was a bad putt?
It was a hard putt. I remember it was a really fast left to right putt. I just didn't hit it hard enough. And it wasn't like if I made that putt, I knew I was going to win because the leaders were back behind me.
Gotcha.
I don't remember being nervous. I just remember being like, crap, I didn't get that to the hole.
At the time, you wouldn't have known you'd have won the tournament.
That's correct. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But you kind of know. I mean, you can see the leaderboards right there, and I think my caddy probably knew. There's a really funny picture of I'm kind of standing there like, I can't believe I didn't get that to the hole. And my caddy, he's in the background, and he's got his head in his hands, just like, she left it short. Like, what that, So, but always the U.S. Open is my thing, I love the Open.
We are talking with Kim Williams, a professional golfer. If you can hear or you're watching on the video or you're just listening, we are live at the Tin Roof 2 in Cool Springs, so you can kind of hear a party going on back there.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted that a little bit. I wanted a little energy,
It fits your personality,
well,
definitely.
Well, thank you. But, we're talking about some real, serious, not serious, but, when we're talking about touring and playing country music shows and festivals, like the loud music seems to apply a little more.
It's normal.
It's a little more normal. We're talking about making 3-foot putts to win the U.S. Open, or the Sara Lee Classic.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if we were at 16 and at Waste Management in Phoenix, this would be really quiet, wouldn't it?
I love that. My gear is the Waste Management, the Phoenix thing. Have you? And I've got a number of questions. Did you ever experience rowdy crowds or?
Oh yes, because they serve alcohol at all golf events. So.
Did you ever have hecklers or people that you?
I think we all have. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I find it hard for because golf is so built around silence in a swing typically.
Yeah.
That with so many people, how do you when you hear something in a backswing, or do you just know that that's always possible, or does that not come up?
If you're playing well, you don't hear it. And honestly, if there's a lot of people, like a huge crowd,
that's even better probably.
Right, because you can't differentiate anything. It's just like this background, like white noise. So yeah, that you're right. That is better. I'm guessing that maybe 16 in Phoenix is a little bit like that.
That looks fun though.
That looks kind of rough though. if that crowd doesn't like you, you're in trouble out there.
Now that's a par 3, right?
It is, yeah. Yep.
And have you played that course?
I think I have, but it's been a while, and obviously not with the the stadium built up.
So I've got a few more questions I got a couple notes
here.
And this is kind of some of the more just personal to me. And I'm sure anybody that's watching or listening would want to know this. What clubs do you play?
Right now, I play Honma, which is a Japanese brand.
Ooh, I don't know that I've heard that.
It's a Japanese brand.
Driver through wedges?
No. You know what? Because I don't have an endorsement contract anymore with anybody, I kind of play what I like.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a Callaway driver. I just got a new one when I played the LPGA event a couple weeks ago. I think I've got the Callaway Speed driver. I've got a couple Callaway fairway woods. I've got like a Honma in there.
So drivers and woods more Callaway?
Yes. And then
irons?
I always have played forged blades.
Mm-hmm. By Callaway or
I did before. Now I've got Honma, those Japanese ones.
Honma, yeah.
And I played Mizuno for a long time before that. I've always played blades. And then my wedges are a mix of Callaway and Hunma. And then my putter is I kind of bounce between a Toulon and a Bentonardi. And I know that if Scotty Cameron heard this, he wouldn't be happy. We go way back. I knew
You and Scotty?
Yeah, I knew Scotty when he
I'm
worked
talking
at Mizuno.
to somebody that knows Scotty
I
Cameron.
know Scotty really well. Yeah, he's a great guy.
And was he always driven for like he's known for his? But did he do irons and other clubs, or why did he become known for his putters?
It's really funny. So Scotty is a great golfer. A lot of people don't know that. He's a phenomenal ball striker, and he's not a real tall guy. He hits it long. He used to blow it by me. We used to play in San Diego a lot. And he's not a great putter. And I think that his dad, I think he originally started building some putters in his parents' garage, like for his dad. I think his dad played. But he always was tinkering with putters. And he worked for Mizuno. And he also worked for, there used to be a really famous putter company, Ray Cook. And they had a putter called the Blue Goose. And Scotty invented that way before anybody. Yeah, he's been doing it a long time. He's a year older than I am, I think. So he's like 59. So,
what ball do you play?
I play Titleist.
The Pro V, the Pro VX.
I play the Pro V1X. Yeah.
I like that ball.
Yeah, it's a great ball. Yeah.
It's funny when you're in you hit a drive into the brush. You'll look for a Pro V1X a little longer.
Yeah, you will.
You're like $4 into that ball.
Yeah. Even though I don't pay for them, I'll still look for it.
So I now know where to get my golf balls from.
Just follow me around, and if I don't bother to go look for it.
Who were some of your favorite rounds that you've played throughout the years, whether professionally or for events? Who were some of your moments that you played golf with in a foursome or against that you would remember that we might know names of?
Well, Nancy Lopez. I mean, anybody of my era. I mean, she's like the Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus of the women's game, and could not be a nicer person. So that was always really special to get paired with Lopez. I remember one year at the Open, it was the last day of the U.S. Open. I was maybe 2 shots back. Lopez was in the last group. We were playing twosomes with the girl that eventually won, English girl, and I was in the second to last group. And my dad was there. I remember just walking to the tee, and you're walking through this, huge crowd of people. There's probably 30 or 40,000 people there, and everybody's wanting Lopez to win. And even though, I'm trying to beat her, it still was so amazing to see, 40 or 50,000 people collectively rooting for Nancy Lopez, who, like Phil, she never won the Open. And I just remember, that's amazing. It was just really, it was emotional, and it wasn't me. And I remember thinking, oh, my God, what must she feel like? That was really special.
She was fun to watch. I've seen so many tournaments with her. She's such one of the most famous golfers.
And one of the best people I have ever known, and a phenomenal player. Really, if you think about it, she raised 3 kids while she did that. Her husband was not a lot of help, which is, I'm assuming, why he's not her husband anymore. And she's married to somebody else. He was a really successful professional baseball player. So, I think he probably thought a lot of it was about him. But, you think if she had even a little help, or, like the other people, like Annika has a couple kids, but she had those kids after she stopped playing. And I'm like, oh my God, Lopez could have won 150 tournaments. So she was really amazing. And then around here, I used to play with Vince a lot, Vince Gill. So we were really good friends. I haven't seen him in a little bit, but he was always so great.
He's a great golfer.
He is a great golfer.
I've not played personally with him, but I've seen so many. He's got the Vin. Does he still do the Vinny?
I'm not sure. I think they have a mini Vinny coming up at the end of July. He raised a lot of money for junior golf in this state. He really has done a lot for junior golf in Tennessee.
Golf. That's why I love golf, and everything that golf you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the kind of sport. I think when you mentioned about your dad and what you were going to do, it calls for you to be your own referee, your own.
Exactly.
You have to play the game a certain way, and
integrity.
As I've started playing more and getting out, I basically play in golf scrambles
Yeah.
is my main thing, and as little of a celebrity, I always think when people get me as their celebrity golfer, what they must feel like, because it's like, who are you? You did what? But I love getting out in scrambles, which this is what I want to ask you.
Sure.
Will you, on camera, commit that if we do certain things in town or have certain things, would you consider being on our golf scramble celebrity
Of course,
team?
absolutely.
Okay.
You know it.
We've got a commitment. Kim Williams is committed. Like the kids commit to college from high school. She's committing to the Real Life with Butter golf scramble team.
I hope the reality of me playing isn't a disappointment.
I've only seen you hit 2 golf shots that didn't require more than 6 feet of total putts. So I think we'll be good.
I would love to. Yeah, I miss getting out and playing around town. I left for about 5 years to take care of my mom, and you kind of, it's out of sight, out of mind. So just trying to get back in the flow around town.
All right, we're going to head here for just a second into some questions that are totally non-golf related. But prior to that, and by the way, thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We've only known each other for about 6 minutes prior to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had a brief conversation on a tee box.
We had that ginger rapport.
We gingerly rapport.
We had that redhead rapport between us.
I knew right then and there, from the sound of her swing and her graciousness letting me interrupt her golf game, that I would be able to do this with you.
You're so funny.
All right, I got a couple questions for you. Divots in the fairway.
Yes.
I've heard John Daly talk about it. I've talked to a number of golfers around this subject. Is it fair? And what's your position? I'm sure you've experienced it more than probably anyone I would know. You drive the ball, like you have the rough, you have the wind, you have the sand traps, you have water, you have all of these things, and you hit a beautiful drive down the middle of the fairway, and your ball ends up in a divot. Is that the most infuriating moment, or how do you deal with that? And is there any recourse, or should that be a rule in golf, one way or the other, that you could tell me why? Because when I watch it on TV and I see these guys roll the ball down and it goes into a divot, they're almost being penalized for being in the middle of the fairway.
I mean, there's not a lot you can do with that shot. One, replace your divot.
Right, right. But on a pro tour, you would think they would do that more often than at where I play, where it's
It's a really bit, like, I've had to tell some younger players, by the way, you need to put that back. So, and actually, you will be fined on tour, you and your caddy, and it's it used to be about $500 if you get caught not putting that back.
When you see a tournament though on TV, and there's a lot of golfers out there, and I understand, and they're driving typically into the same areas of a fairway.
Correct.
Depending on where each tee box
landing
is.
area, yeah.
I don't know. I've always found it. It's like you
part of the game.
So that's kind of where you come.
And they go. Let me tell you, those really nice events. Those guys on TV, they're walking those fairways every night, and filling those divots with sand, which is not the same as being on the ground. But it's not like you're probably not going to get either someone's replaced it or a greens crew has come through at night and replaced it. So.
We're about to get to this section of the show that you don't know where we're heading.
That one threw me off. I was like, divots.
Well, I mean, that concerns me.
It is good. Put your divot back or fill it with sand, people.
We're going to hit these, I call them the Sharpie interviews. Okay? And I'm going to ask you some questions. Now, I've been hiding them from you so you can't see it, but I want to make sure that on my notes, I've asked you everything that I thought I wanted to ask you, and I think I have. We probably could talk more about your career and successes, but you've done this at the highest level, and I just think it's awesome to be able to talk to you this way and for you to,
You're very nice to appreciate that.
Because where I'm going has nothing to do with golf,
sure,
so I want to put a little capsulization on this.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to that. All right, I'm ready. Right. Hopefully.
We have Kim Williams, professional golfer. She has to choose her new microphone for the next few minutes. Purple? Is that the way you go? I'll
Yeah.
go green. Green
Purple.
M&Ms we used to do on the road. All right, these are the Sharpie interviews, and you have to talk into your.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
Sharpie has not sponsored this, but I call them the Sharpie interviews because, and I'm sure in your career, how many autographs have you signed that weren't with a Sharpie? They were all with Sharpies.
Absolutely.
Sharpie, I keep, like McDonald's has, we've
Right.
served 16 billion hamburgers.
Yeah.
Sharpie should be, we've served up 17 million autographs.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you'll notice, but tour players always have a Sharpie in their back pocket because you don't want to touch that pen that those kids have been like drooling on and
Sure.
stuff. Yeah.
When your wayward drive hits a kid in the head and you have to sign your golf club, you need a Sharpie there.
I have been there and done that. Yes.
You've signed a few golf gloves
Yeah.
for people you've hit.
Yes. It happens.
I just had to ask you this, but I keep a Sharpie in my golf bag because of the way I mark my
Yeah,
ball
you mark
up.
your ball with it.
Do you have a specific marking on your ball that you do?
Purple, always purple. Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm really boring. I just put like a big blob on there, but it's big.
Over the number, or over the
kind of round Titleist and the number. Yeah.
That's cool.
Everybody has something they put on there.
I like the new soccer ball ones that I see running out there.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to kind of look at you now. We have to talk.
All right, I got it.
So, JJ Joey, is our Sharpie microphones good? All right, we got JJ Joey. He's the show producer. Jco.collective is his company. Did I say that right? He's the man. He's just over there running buttons, and I hope we're sounding good. I just gave you a plug, JJ Joey, so we better be sounding good. All right, Kim Williams, Sharpie interviews. You have to answer into the Sharpie just in case Sharpie ever wants to sponsor this.
I've been shot, and I'm nervous about this.
I know. I didn't know if I could bring that up.
Of course, yeah.
Well, let's take a second. What happened? Let's put the Sharpies down.
I was leading the tournament.
Let's
on
talk.
Saturday night. I was just walking in. You know what? Speaking of Scotty Cameron, I had a new Scotty Cameron, which back then I don't think he was even Scotty Cameron at Titleist yet. It was just a putter that Scotty had made for me. We had a really close mutual friend. And they would rust if they got wet, and it was raining that day, and I ran to the store to get, you would put baby
oil. And where are you at this point?
Youngstown, Ohio.
Okay, that's next to where I grew up.
So I had finished in the top 5 at that event probably 3 or 4 years prior to that. I'd come in 3rd and 4th, and I was like, okay, I feel really comfortable. I love this golf course. And I was just like this, I was really at peace. I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to win. Which I had never felt like that before, where you're just feel super confident.
I got this.
Yeah, exactly. Everything feels under control. Went out to get some baby oil that night at the drugstore, and these guys were about a half mile away in the woods, partying, drinking, and I got shot, stray bullet in the neck, 9mm, went in the left side of my neck, went right through the middle of my neck, ended up over here. Needless to say, I did not make my tee time the next morning. I had a little helicopter ride to a bigger city. So,
I meant to ask you before we, really started, because I can imagine what that might have been. But what do you do when you get shot? Are you in shock? Are you in disbelief?
It hurts.
Are you bleeding
it
to
burns.
death
Yes,
at this moment?
I was bleeding out. I mean, you get shot in the neck and you're bleeding. You're kind of like, wow, didn't think I'd die this way.
Did you think you were going to die?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At that moment.
Oh yeah, because you're bleeding out and you've gotten shot in the neck. I mean,
And you're at a store. You're just.
Yeah. I walked into the store. I was in good shape. It did not knock me down. Pretty close though, but I figured out pretty quickly I'd gotten shot. For like a second, I thought I'd get hit by a golf ball. I'm like, no, I'm not at the golf course, and it's 9:00 at night. Obviously, if I was going to die, I would have died pretty quickly from that. Got helicoptered out, airlifted out. I remember the surgeon was like, look, you're not going to make it. I'm going to, 2 helicopters landed at the same time.
They said that to you.
The guy on the helicopter said it to me. The doctor at the hospital, I heard before the helicopter came, I heard him say, one of the nurses said something about the helicopter, and he said, "Oh, it doesn't really matter. She's not going to make it till that helicopter gets here."
How does that be? How do
I
you?
know. And I told her, I go, tell him, by the way, I can hear him.
Oh,
Doctor on the helicopter said the same thing. And then when I landed, the trauma surgeon, she said, "Hey, you probably noticed there was another helicopter that landed at the same time." I said, "Yes, I did." She said, "A little boy got mauled by a dog. I'm going to take him first." And I'm sure she thought I wasn't going to survive. What's the point? I'm going to take the kid first.
I don't even know
So,
how you.
yeah.
What?
So, but it was a complete miracle. There's no explanation for it. I remember she came in the next day, 2 days later, and said, I'm going to let you go. That went between your esophagus and your trachea. It's the size of my thumb. It's completely impossible. I remember she said to me, she said, "I could run a surgical needle through your neck," she goes, "which is smaller than a sewing needle, and where that bullet went, and I would hit a multitude of things that would kill you."
And it didn't.
And it didn't. So I, being an insane athlete, got up out of the hospital on Wednesday morning, went to the next tournament, and finished in the top 10. The last day I shot even par, and a bunch of people passed me. I had a chance to win, but the anesthesia had kind of caught up with me, and it was really hot. But, yeah, I know. What can you say? I mean,
And
who knows why some of us survive things like that. And then you look at some child who's had this, they're innocent, and then something horrible happens and they don't make it. And you just wonder, like, okay, why am I here and they're not,
well, and I mean, the emotional things that you've probably had to deal with from that. Like, are you fearful of, like, that's a once in a,
Yeah.
like, not only for that to happen, but like if you'd have looked at one bag of chips a little longer, or
Right.
went and couldn't open a cooler up quite right, you would have been earlier or later. Like, for that
Yeah.
thing to happen, I mean, do you walk away from that feeling like this could happen again, or do you see the randomness
You have
in
a
it?
little bit of that, definitely. And my dad was so funny. Like, once my dad realized, okay, she's going to survive, he told me this a couple days later. He said that the doctor said to him, "Well, had your daughter been of a more normal height, it would have hit her in the head and it would have killed her."
I don't like anything that these doctors have had to say to you during this whole thing.
My dad was like, "Apparently you're of abnormal height."
I don't know who I'm more angry at right now, the person that shot the bullet or these comments from these.
I tell you, I got really
Doctors
angry.
that-
I got really angry at the guy on the helicopter because I'm strapped down on like a backboard. I can't move, and there was a nurse, a male nurse, was on the helicopter. He was on my left, and this young hotshot doctor was on my right. And the doctor kind of made this slash in the throat sign, and I'm like, "Seriously, did you just do that? I can see you." And then the nurse who was obviously older and more experienced, this life flight guy, he's like, no, he didn't mean it. And I'm like, I just like let into that guy. I'm sure he's like, "This lady's nuts. She's been shot and she's yelling at me." And I was like, you need to work on your bedside manner. And oh man, I went off on him.
Did that contribute to any of the injuries that you later had with
No.
that? So that didn't
No.
play any part.
No. I had hurt my back when I was younger playing basketball. I remember hurting it the first time. Struggled with it probably a little bit in my amateur career, and then it really, as I got older, my golf swing was, golf is hard on your back.
Yeah.
And,
Well, yeah.
once you hurt your back, it's kind of compromised.
Nothing else works.
Yeah, and it doesn't really get better. It's how you can manage it. So, yeah.
I don't even think I can ask you these questions now. I mean, we're talking about so many different things, and then you talk about almost dying.
Yeah.
You don't get to talk to very many professional golfers or people that were on a deathbed in a helicopter being shot randomly.
I mean, I don't know if you're interested, but I had a very strange thing happen when I was in the hospital. I don't know if you're interested.
All I want to do is hear this.
So they finally, do take me in, and the doctor says, "Look, we're gonna have to open your chest, and you're probably not gonna make it, and you have to sign something saying, I'm not gonna sue you because you killed me." And so I wake up the next morning, and I told her, I go, "I'm fine. I would be dead by now." And she's like, well, it hit something. And so anyway, I wake up the next morning and they had not, obviously, you wake up and your throat's sore. Obviously, they haven't cracked your chest open. I mean, so I woke up and I was like, they had done like a bronchoscopy where they just stick a camera down your throat. So it wasn't that invasive a thing. They had shot some dye through my head and stuff like that too, but they did that before the surgery. So I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, my throat is so sore. Would they stick a toilet bowl brush down my throat? It hurts so bad. And I'd been awake for, I don't know, an hour or two.
Are we going to find out now that they left something in your throat?
No.
Okay.
So I wake up.
This is where I thought this was
and
heading.
I was awake for a while, and I'm in the ICU, and you can't really move. You're hooked up to all this stuff, and they're very small. There's like 6 beds, and everything's clear. You can see everything. So this nurse comes in, and she's looking at my chart, and she says, wow, that was, you're really lucky. And I said, no, I was very blessed. And she looked at me and she said, yes, you were. Must have had a guardian angel on your shoulder, huh? And all the air went out of that room. And my friend Heather Farr, who anybody that went to Sara Lee knew Heather. She was a big Sara Lee. She was sponsored by Sara Lee. And I'd known Heather since we were kids. She was, I was too afraid to look, but she was on my right side. I could feel her so strongly. And Heather was very small, but she had a huge presence.
And you could feel her as actually
her spirit,
a human, or she wasn't alive at this time?
No, she had passed away at this time.
Okay, and you felt that
She
spirit.
was next to me, and I was afraid to look. I couldn't even move. I couldn't even breathe. I was so terrified, right? And then finally, it was like all the air left the room, and finally, like, I could breathe for a second. I'm looking at this nurse, and I go, okay, I know who it was. She said, yeah, I guess you do, huh? And she's looking at my chart. Boom, she leaves, right? And so then, like, I'm trying to calm down, just like, and this other nurse comes in like 20 minutes later, looks completely different clothes on, looks completely different. And I said, oh, you the new nurse on duty? And she looks at me, she's like, what are you talking about? And I go, well, there's another nurse in here like 20 minutes ago that was like tall and had dark hair and glasses. And she's like, I've been here since I brought you up at 5 o'clock this morning. She's like, I'm the only nurse in the ICU. And I must have had this look on my face. And she's like, I saw you talking, but I just figured you were like singing or talking to yourself. And I'm like, there was another nurse here. She was about 5'8". She had dark hair. She had glasses. She's like, no, this is a secure ICU. You got shot. That's the only door in here. It's locked, and an alarm goes off if anybody comes in. And I'm just like, and she, I must have had a look of like
chills.
fright on my face.
I don't know what to think right now.
I get chills telling this story too. So I must have had a look on my face. She's like, listen, it happens up here a lot. You work up here long enough, you see it happens. She goes, it's a good thing. She goes, she's just had things happen up here that don't happen anywhere else. And so it was just so, I remember so distinctly what that lady looked like, what she was wearing. It was, yeah. And I was
Who
a
do you
believer.
think the nurse was then?
Obviously, she was not. I don't know if she ever was of this world, or she was not currently residing in the form that you and I are right now. Yeah, it was really different. And that nurse was like, a lot of strange things happen up here. So, yeah. It's funny. I'm a religious person. I always have been, but you always hear Dolly Parton say she's spiritual, but she's not religious. And it's funny. I'll meet people and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't believe," and I'll be like, "Listen, I don't care what you believe in, but you might want to start because I've talked to them." So, yeah.
This is a story of all stories.
Yeah, it's.
And sometimes when you hear things like this, I believe it. I'm not saying that you wouldn't be, but I think that when you talk about what happened, and the thoroughness and the quality and the cloth of the person that you are, hear a story like this.
I wasn't on pain medication. I was on no medication. I had been awake for hours. The nurse was like, "I saw you talking," and just that presence of Heather Farr was so strong. Like I said, I was terrified to even look where I felt her right over my right shoulder. It was just, yeah, I know. It's, and you just, as a person, you just go, well, I'm just somebody schlepping away. Like, why did I survive and somebody else didn't? It's not like,
Well, and why
You
did
know?
it happen to you in the first place, let alone surviving it? You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
life is crazy, isn't it?
you seem to have a great handle on that. Yeah, I don't get the sense that you're living in fear
Oh
today,
no, not at all.
which is
No,
amazing.
no, not like a Monica Seles thing. I mean, for a couple weeks after that, I was a little like, if fireworks were going off or something, I get a little. If I hear people shooting, it's not my favorite thing to hear, but
Well,
yeah.
I love that you compared that these Sharpie interviews made you more nervous than that did. I don't know how to,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Sorry, I digressed
No,
from
no.
your Sharpie
You know,
interview.
I out of respect for the story, wanted to hear it, and I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about it. I didn't know if that was somewhere to
Oh,
go.
yeah,
I'm
that's
glad
fine.
that we got to talk about
Yeah.
it. You know, and
Yeah.
there's some things that are involved in that are very unique, and
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. Yes. Very.
And I'm glad that I'm
Yeah.
glad that you are playing in more tournaments and
Yeah.
you're here. And she's agreed to be on my foursome celebrity golf team. It's on camera.
They're not going to let me play the ladies' tees. You
Yes,
realize
they are.
that?
That's why we're doing this.
No, they're not.
Yes, they will. How can they not? Now, I would take you from the whatever tees.
Okay.
But
You're
there,
sweet.
there is some advantage of you
Yeah,
being
I
on the
don't-
ladies' tees.
I don't think that's going to
They have no idea how hard and far and straight this gal hits the ball.
Yeah.
The sound. So, Kim Williams, we're still gonna do these Sharpie interviews. Did you know that Craig Wayne Boyd is sitting over there, the famous country music singer? He's right there. Do you see him behind you? He is right there. Craig Wayne Boyd is going to be on our show here.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for my seat.
Oh, but
The celebrity's
he's a
coming
true
in.
gentleman. He's going to have to sit there and wait for us because
They're so
he's
funny.
early. He's early. What musician's ever early?
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton's early.
Yeah, better not be late if you're working with her.
I will never be late if I get to work with Dolly
Oh,
Parton.
Who would be, right?
Okay. Kim Williams, what an amazing conversation. Thanks for your honesty and the realness, and not talking me out of divot should be illegal in golf.
Gosh, that's silly.
In the fairway especially. Okay. We're going to the Sharpie
Okay,
interviews.
I'm ready.
You are not allowed to overthink these.
Oh, goodness.
You have to
Okay.
shotgun
Yeah.
Sharpies. Okay. Are you ready? What is your favorite takeout pizza?
Oh. Well, anything in New York.
Okay, by the
Anything
slice?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you like
Yeah.
that thin crust.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we didn't get a real answer, but that's okay. If you're going to crush a meal, what is your favorite food to overeat?
Everything.
Everything?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Okay. Favorite all-time breakfast cereal as a kid?
I like Captain Crunch.
Yes. Do you remember how it used to hurt your mouth, the
Yes.
roof of your mouth?
Ow.
The crunch
Sharp.
berries. I don't know if you're a partier, but what's your favorite bar to go have a drink or hang out in?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in a bar. This would probably count. Sorry, I told you I'm super boring. Why are you having me on your show?
These Sharpie interviews are quickly.
I don't drink.
I hear you.
Occasionally, but yeah, not really.
You know, when I first met Kim, I was like, maybe we could do an interview on the golf course, and she agreed to that. And then I brought her to the Tin Roof too in Franklin.
Told you
All
I
right,
was boring.
Road trip or staycation?
Road trip.
Where would you go?
Any beach, anywhere where I can get in and surf and swim.
Okay, then that's another question. The beach for 3 days or the lake for 4 days? The ocean for 3 days.
The ocean.
The lake. Okay.
Oh yeah, I
You'll
like the
take
big
the
waves.
ocean.
Yes, big waves.
Hot sauce or no hot sauce?
Hot sauce.
All right. Texting or talking on the phone?
Talking on the phone, I'm old.
You're a great texter, though.
Thank you.
I tried to watch my grammar with you to make sure I was doing things correctly.
Christina Kim is the first person that ever sent me a text, and I'm like, what is this? Like, I remember called her back and she didn't answer. I'm like,
I think I know the
the
answer to this one, though. Do you
Yeah.
put ketchup on steak?
No.
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 Do you eat meat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No ketchup?
No, I like A1 sauce.
I do like A1 sauce. Okay. The front row seats or backstage pass at a concert? Are you up front rooting, or do you want to be backstage where the celebrities are all hanging out and drinking iced teas and eating deli trays?
Depends on who it is. If I could go
The
backstage.
Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles. I think a friend of mine's helping play with them, isn't he?
Yeah, you know famous people. Front stage
not-
or backstage at the Eagles concert?
The Eagles. I guess backstage. Yeah.
There's probably a good hang.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of awkward and shy, so I'd be hiding in the corner backstage.
She talked to a perfect stranger on the golfing on the tee box, but
Well, I'm playing a professional golfer out there. I feel more comfortable there.
this is the most important question that you're going to be asked today,
Uh-oh.
I hope. And so I hope you get this one correct, all right? Sharpie interviews Kim Williams, professional LPGA golfer. Real life with butter. Here we go. Who is your favorite all-time host of a show that you've been on today?
I believe his name is Mark Fortney.
Oh, she's dropping the reel. Kim Williams, thank you.
Thank you.
Real life with butter was as real as it has ever been for me. I mean, that story and the successes that you've had, I don't know if I'll ever do another interview like
that
this. So.
story is it doesn't come up a lot, but that's makes you wonder why we're all here, right?
I don't know if this is appropriate, but on our goodbye, I just
Golf
wanted to give you a
clapping.
nice little golf clap.
Thank you.
Kim Williams, thank you.
Thank you.
Real life with butter. Are you ready?